Welcome everyone to another Buzz Slayers interview. Today we have LAKLAN. Thank you so much for joining us. First of all, I really appreciate that. Taking some time out of your day. Where do we even begin? Let's start with the I Would and I Would Part 2, because that's the most recent release. And I wanted to dive in a little bit into some of your background in terms of, you know, everything is you, right? You produce your own stuff, you create. Yeah. So how do you do that? Do you have like a home setup that would you use Logic Pro, or get into that a little bit?
Well, so I started working in GarageBand. That's how I got my.
I love GarageBand. I love GarageBand.
Yeah, it's great. You can have the most like expensive software equipment, but GarageBand just works, you know.
But GarageBand is always considered Logic's like little brother. And I actually love GarageBand. I mean, there's a couple of things where, you know, there's certain things that you can't do in GarageBand that you can do in Logic, like, you know, taking like little chunks of something, splitting it up, doing the volume or whatever. But I love GarageBand and I love Logic and Ableton and all that stuff. But anyway, sorry, I digress. Go on.
No. Like, I love starting off in GarageBand. So
yeah,
I would like learn to like make beats in there, chop up loops. And so I love the whole production side. And so usually once I have the track down, then I like to write on top of it. I'll get ideas or a vibe while I'm making the track, and I just write that down. So I kind of do both hand in hand. And then I kind of just started singing on my own tracks because before a lot of people, my friends, sang on my own songs because you know, singers can really like make the song come to life in a way that I couldn't, you know.
Right.
But eventually I was like, it's time consuming. It's some people say yes, some people say no. So I kind of got like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it myself, see how it goes.
Well, I'm glad that you did. I actually was going to ask you about that because I know that this technically is the first release that you have with your own vocals on it, right? This is the first one. Yeah. And so how do you feel about it now? Because that's a big step for a producer and a songwriter like yourself, who's always collaborated with other singers on your stuff. Now you're taking the step to sing on you. So you feel good about it?
I do. I really like the way I Would turned out. I was like, oh, okay, I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
No.
And then I made part 2 and I wanted it to be like a more moodier kind of sound. And I liked how that turned out. So it's been a fun snowball effect, and I've become more confident in myself because of it.
That's good. I'm glad, because they sound great. I mean, you know, the differences between I Would and I Would Part 2 are nuts, because to me, you know, the way as an outsider, obviously, I hear it as I Would Part 1 is like the intro kind of to I Would Part 2. I could, because not only because it's different, but also because it's a lot shorter than I Would Part 2. I Would Part 2 is longer in time than the first track. So to me, it kind of felt like a little bit of an intro. And I listened to them in order, obviously. You know, obviously some people I guess wouldn't, but I do because I'm an album guy. But you know, I listened to them, and you know, when I Would Part 2, so I listened to I Would Part 1, and I was like, all right, I got the vibe and everything, and you know, then I Would Part 2 came on, and I was like kind of blown away. I was like, whoa, this is way, you know. But I love that you hinted at I Would Part 1 in Part 2, in different ways, musically and lyric wise, and then also, you know, your sound in general for these songs in particular are just like, to me, kind of very like cinematic and
thank you,
vast. You know, there's a vastness in the underbelly and the undertone of the songs, and that kind of like takes you on a bit of like a, you know, you get kind of engulfed in it a little bit, and I like that. I like being able to, I like being able to like get sucked into something and just become engulfed in it, and it becomes like, because there's a lot of different kind of synth pads that you're using, you know, and so. But what are some of your favorite synth sounds, and do you grab those from different places, or is it all in Logic?
I do. Some of the synth sounds came from GarageBand, and then when I worked with my friend on the song, you know, she had more sounds that she's been saving, and I really love to chop them up and manipulate them with the EQing. I love like a good grindy synth, you know, or like a boogie style synth. So in the last part of I Would Part 2, like in the last chorus, I like really like kicked up that like grindy kind of synth in there, and it just gave it a different feel, you know. And I like that she said it feels cinematic or sounds cinematic, because I like big like whooshing, rushing sounds, you know, just to like set the tone.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you definitely did it. I mean, so you take these synths from no matter where they are, and your fun is kind of in also messing with the tonalities of the synths. You
Yes.
know, like I'm gonna put some distortion or amp simulator or some shit on there, and just
Yeah.
kind of mess with it and see what I can kind of get out of it. And that I think that's fun too because I think that for you, it's cool because you started off as, more a producer, right? And
Mhm.
producing tracks, and now you've kind of grown into your own artistry. Now that you're singing on your own tracks, it's got to feel a little bit different to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And so how is it for you? Because I know that, you mix your own stuff, obviously, too, because you mix your own stuff.
Yes and no. So the
Oh,
final product. So I do my own stuff as much as I can
mhm.
um, here, and then I go into a local studio called Cinnamon Sound Studio, and the sound engineer there really like he takes what I have and he makes it sound really professional, and he has all the bells and whistles that I don't.
Right.
So like the stutter tracks on the vocals, like he helps me with that, and
Ah,
so we really beef it up there in the studio.
nice. So you do a lot of the work yourself and then you take it to someone else. And that,
Yeah.
that's smart too, because a lot of people that produce their own stuff. So I would say during COVID, during the whole lockdown era of COVID and whatever, a lot more people started, where they were at home, and they started going, okay, well, I'm gonna, just start recording my own stuff at home,
Mhm.
with whatever I have. But I think that, even since before then, I think a lot of people that create their own tracks the way that you do, that like from scratch to fruition,
Yeah.
which takes a lot of work. People that don't do it don't really, I don't think, grasp the amount of, not really, I don't want to say work, but just time and kind of
Yeah.
love and energy that goes into it, um, but a lot of people don't think about, all right, well, maybe I should bring this to another set of ears to be like, okay, well, what can this person do that even though I know what I'm doing. So you
Yeah.
got to kind of, and that's cool because a lot of people won't step outside that kind of, I don't want to say ego, but just that thought process and be
It,
like,
yeah, and it's a comfort zone thing too. Like whatever you make by yourself, you kind of have like such a sacred attachment
oh
to it.
yeah,
It's scary, like bringing it somewhere else. But
yeah,
I went to school in Nashville, so I have a lot of singer songwriter friends, and so we constantly share stuff with each other that we make, and we always like to get a second, third opinion on the songs,
yeah.
and whatever can make it better, we like to really beef it up.
It's always helpful to have other ears on the song, man. But again, it takes a certain kind of producer and songwriter and artist to be able to open up to be like, hey, not only like, oh, let's get other opinions from other people, but really like, hey, this person is able to take what I already have and kind of bring it to that level that I had it in my head. You know what I mean? And that is what you're doing with that. And I think that's really smart because it obviously works out. I mean, everything, the sound of these two songs, which I would, I'm old, so I would call it a maxi single, is technically what it used to be called, a maxi single.
Uh-huh.
Two songs released. It used to be on a 45, A side, B side.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm definitely aging myself here. So, but but yeah, I mean, you release like a double single like that, and what else? Actually, I wanted to ask you is, do you do any physical? Like, do you press like any CDs or vinyl or anything of
I
your?
don't.
You don't?
No,
Oh, okay, just
not
curious.
not yet.
You should. You
Should I?
should. Well, because I'll tell you right now. I mean, like I said, I know I'm a little older, but when you if you had this, even just this EP on a little 45 on a record, you'd maybe pay $100 or $150 to get. It's a little steep for one record, but
Yeah.
if you have a record player, if you have a record player, it feels different to be able to take your own shit out and be like and put it on. It's so real, dude.
I think something tangible would be pretty cool.
It feels
But
good to do it. Yeah.
yeah, well, for the I would cover, my friend helped me make that cover, and I
Yeah.
said I wanted to look like a CD case like thrown out on the dance floor kind of
Right.
thing. So
Yeah.
trust me, I love like CDs. I still like have physical CDs that I listen to, but I
Yeah.
thought that would be a cool little twist and element to the
Oh
cover.
yeah, absolutely. And then this is and I don't we can edit this out if I'm jumping the gun here, but is this this is like a kind of like a preview kind of, because you have an EP coming out as well.
Yes. Yes. I
Okay.
plan to release the EP maybe late spring or so.
Late spring. Okay, cool. Okay. So I didn't know if we can get into that, but it's going to be called Club Matrix or no?
Yes. Yes. I want it to be called Club Matrix.
Very cool. And my other thing was, are these 2 tracks going to be on that EP, or is it just fresh?
Yes. Yes.
They are.
These are 2 tracks out of 8 that will be on.
Nice. Very nice. Okay. Well, I mean, these 2 tracks alone, so if you have 8 tracks, depending on how long it is, it might actually be considered an album,
An album sounds too like official,
Dude,
like,
be official. Be official. Dude, don't be afraid. Yeah, it's not such a big deal. Well, look, don't be afraid to be official, dude, because look, technically EPs are either 6 tracks or 15 minutes in length. Past 15 minutes, even 6 tracks, even if it's 4 tracks, if it's past 15 minutes, it's considered an album, dude.
Oh, okay. That's
so think about that when you release it. You might want to not just call it an EP. Like, I like what you did with I Would and I Would Too, because it's kind of like a double single. You released it as a single on Spotify, and Spotify has changed the way people release stuff technically, to an extent, which is cool. So tell me more about your collaborations and stuff from your earlier stuff. These are all friends that you've had that sing on your stuff? And
yes, they were my friends in school. So I went to Belmont over in Nashville. I was part of the songwriting program there.
Nice.
And these people were my fellow classmates and my friends. And I was very shy in that program. I was like, I'm just a writer, just a songwriter. I wasn't even like producing yet. Right. And then I started to, get into everything, and I'd be like, hey, can you sing this for me? This is how I imagine it going. I would sing it for them, and they'd be like, oh, okay. And then they would do their thing on it.
Oh, so you do come up with like the vocal melodies and stuff like that a lot of the time.
Oh yeah. I had like a melody in my head. Even during the recording process, I know like in my head, I knew how it was supposed to go. And so it was great that I got to relay that to them, and then they would take it up to the next level.
And when they would record on your track, did you guys do that together, or were you like, here? Like, do you ever send stuff to people like in a different place and like different state?
Yeah. No, I haven't done that at all. I always like to be there.
Right. A little control.
But yeah.
Yeah, I feel you, dude. I mean, when you're doing stuff like that kind of stuff that you do, that's, progressive, and, I think my favorite thing about this, the double single in particular, is that you kind of are bending the rules, like genres a little bit. It's not one genre, you know what I mean? That's kind of why I call it a kind of cinematic, because I call it cinematic because it's got that expansive undertone to it a lot of the time. But on the forefront, everything is like right in your face too. So but there's between the forefront and like the synth pads and all that spacious stuff that's in the background. There are layers of stuff as well happening, especially with part 2. And so that was something that, I kind of was like, and the other cool thing too about it is it's kind of edgy. Like, it's like, right? Like, it makes me feel like you're inspired by stuff that's not just like, I felt like maybe you listen to like post-punk and shit like that. Or,
you should see my Spotify like saved playlist, like my liked playlist. It's like a bunch of everything on there.
Yeah, I can tell. It's funny because I listened to it and I was like, because, vocally too, it feels a little bit post-punky, and, and I like that. Yeah, I like the element of that with the sound that you have, and I think that helps you bend genres. And I like anything that, is not following a super particular cookie cutter format. Like, I
feel like the first I Would, that's more, I mean, in my opinion, I feel like it's more straight to the point, more commercial, more, and then the part 2 it has more character in it.
Yeah.
I was really inspired. Do you know the artist Tinashe?
Yeah,
I love her, and I love R&B, and she has a song called Bouncin', and then Bouncin' Part 2, and she kind of did the same thing where it was the same song, but she just flipped it and made it moodier. And I was like, I love that. I want to do that with one of mine.
Right.
Like, why not do it with I Would? And I really liked how it turned out.
Oh, no, I'm so glad you did that. I mean, one wouldn't be the same without the other. And, I love that idea, and that's kind of what attracted me to it in the first place. Is listening to the first one and then listening to the second one and being like, oh,
Yeah.
like, and then because once after you listen to the first one, when you listen to the part two,
Mhm.
you get all the little hints of the first one in it, and you're
Yeah.
kind of like, it's part two, but it's kind of like another version of part one, and but it's extended and it expands on things, and it's just like, so it's like music that is done, you know, where, and even the first one, I mean, yeah, the first one is more clean cut, I guess, and straight to the point or whatever. It's
Mhm.
shorter, it's under 2 minutes, or it's about 2 minutes or something. Um, and but the second one, is it's not boxed in any way, shape, or form. And that's
Mhm.
what caught me about it, was just like, all right, cool. This is not, you know, this is for him. He's doing this, for himself, and I like that aspect of it because,
Yeah.
and then other people, because other people relate to that. Other people pick up on it, you know what I mean? They can relate to the song. And
Yeah.
it's like a little musical journey that you take, especially with two of them together. Is the rest of the album going to be kind of follow suit? And also, are you singing on the rest of the record too?
I am, yes. I'm singing on all the songs, and believe it or not, the this I Would bundle I released, it's
Yeah.
the sound is more chiller on I Would. The rest is really, it's really hard, really edgy, really like big beats, even more dear
Nice.
to your sense. So it's more beefed up. I Would and I Would Part Two are the more chiller of the
Right. You still gonna have some of those synth pads and the vast undertones and
Of
stuff in there?
course, of
Yeah.
course. I
Cool.
have to.
So, um, do you play live?
I don't. And like
Don't,
I said
yeah,
before, I'm a shy person, and I've never like been on stage before. So
right.
maybe, I mean, I wouldn't have thought I'd be singing on my own songs, but
Right.
I've been gradually like getting more comfortable with it. So
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it's something where, I get curious about that when there's an artist that has, like, you're doing everything pretty much, especially now, right? So, you I don't really get certain aspects because, you're you and I'm me. So I don't really get certain aspects of, like, all right, where does it start? Does it start with a beat? Does it start with a synth? Do you find a synth sound and you're like, oh, this is sick, and then you start riffing a little bit, or you find a loop and you're like, oh, wait a second, you start hearing stuff on the loop. How does it, like,
Mhm.
begin? What usually starts that process?
Usually I have a song idea, either like it's the title or like a line with it. And then I just
Mhm.
kind of mess around with the sounds on my computer. And usually it starts with a loop that I like, or I
Uh,
hear, or sometimes I really love to chop up the loops. Like I don't use the whole thing. I
mm,
like chop it up and pair it with something else and combine those together. Um, and then once I get in that headspace, then I just kind of like spill out gibberish that doesn't make sense, but I have to like get the flow right and
right.
try to like fit the lyrics to fit that flow. So that's usually how it started the
So
song.
it's, yeah, once you want, so it's you what, but then at a certain point it opens up and you start it, the forward flow starts happening. You're like, all right, cool, you get into the groove. So that's kind of like, and you do this just, you're just alone in the middle of the night or something. Like, this is your zone.
Yeah, yeah. This is me like after work and after a long day, this is me just kind of like honing in for myself, and like I feel the best version of myself when I do it. So
I love that so much, man. That's really
yeah.
cool because, when you kind of imagine, like, that's got to be your zone, that's got to be your, like, your happy place, so to speak, or whatever, when you're just
Definitely.
alone in your bubble, no one to bother you, no one's coming over, you can do whatever you want, you've got either the speakers or the headphones on, who gives a shit what time it is? It could be 3 in the morning,
Have my glass
right?
of wine right on the side.
Yeah, and you're just flowing, dude, and it's like,
Yeah.
do you ever have nights where you start doing that and it's like, you know you pull kind of almost an all-nighter, and then the next day you're like, ugh, I'm not keeping this. You ever have that kind of shit
Oh,
happen?
yeah, yeah. Sometimes I think like, oh, that's so good, and I go to bed like happy, and then I re-listen to it, and I'm like, I think I'm the only person that would get this. I don't think other people would.
No, 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 no. Other people that do music, that produce their own stuff and write their own stuff at home, like, alone, you know, because I've been doing this for years and years and years, you know, 14 years or something.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I've been in studio sessions, I've been talked to and work with thousands of musicians and artists. And, you know, there are a lot of people that, you know, have the same kind of process and are lucky enough like you to be able to be like, cool, this is my bubble, everyone piss off, and I'm going to be here and I'm going to do my thing, and this is your happy place. And it's like a way for you to, you know, express yourself and just like you get that creative process off your chest. But the cool thing is you go through the ups and downs. So it's like you have something that you wrote and it's like, oh, you, like you said, I went to bed happy. Oh, this is great. Go to bed. And then you wake up the next morning, you're like, what was I thinking? You know, like this is terrible, you know, and maybe you try and fix it in a certain way. Well, maybe I can change this or change that.
Oh yeah, like you need to give your ears a break from like being honed in for so long. You need to like give it a night, give it a day or so, and then go in. You could build off of that idea that you originally had, or scrap the whole thing. But it's definitely important to like give yourself a little break and come back to it with fresh ears.
Yes, that's 100% right. That's definitely something that I've learned as well from a lot of people that you know, that write a lot of their own stuff and then mix and kind of master their own stuff as well. I've found that a lot of artists, you know, kind of get, when it comes to the mixing, because mixing is, especially with stuff like this, dude, how important is mixing? Like mixing is like,
it can make or break the whole thing. Like
100%. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. And so that's an important thing for people to realize too, is, you know, especially with music like this, that's kind of big and combines these genres, a lot of electronic undertone, digital, you know, synths and beats and natural stuff like vocals or sometimes guitar, that kind of stuff. When you bring all that stuff together, you have that, because to me, I feel like being able to blend and mix together the tones of digital synthesizers and a natural tone like your voice, and still have it mesh and feel right, that's gotta be like a tough thing to pull off, just because your voice is tonally so different than an electronic synth.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
Well, I love auto-tune. I love slapping like lots of like, on Club Matrix, you'll hear a lot of like different filters on me, but like, you know, you can still tell it's me, but like I fucked it up a little, and and I'm like, that's cool. So I really like how it sounds and what you can pull off in the studio.
Yeah,
really
yeah.
Cool.
I like being able to talk to someone about, you know, being able to do what you're doing and you know, just knowing that that's your happy place. And it's good to know that you have that, you know, and that's, you know, because it's coming from, you know, when you release it, because it's the whole thing about it is being in that place and being able to go to sleep happy and wake up like, what was I thinking? And this, scratch this, toss that, keep that, toss that, chop this up. It's a whole process, and people that aren't in it, you know, don't understand, you know, might not understand that aspect of the process. They just see, okay, well, he just released a double single, you know, online, and that was, you know, in their heads, maybe it was like, oh yeah, he just recorded that and then put it up. No, dude, there was probably versions of that were scrapped. There was probably lots of vocals that were scrapped, you know, and you were like, nope, gonna try that again, not keeping that, you know.
Honestly, yeah, the first I Would, like, we've only had like a couple of versions of that, but it was a pretty quick song to do, and then we really liked the final outcome. But I Would Part 2, it took like more trial and error to get to a spot where I'm like, okay, it's good now.
Well, there's so much going on there. There's, like I said, there's so much layers of music and so much layers of textures musically, soundscape wise going on, that, you know, the mix is like, that kind of aspect is tough. And then when you come into doing the vocal parts of, you know, for it, you know, you got to figure out, you know, where you're going to do them, you know, how intense you want to be on them. And so, but this is I like that this is the first one that you recorded vocals on, because it came out really good. And I think that, you know, I hope that Club Matrix, that's why I asked you if you were singing on it too, because I wanted to see you keep going, you know, keep moving forward with that. Yeah. Let me ask you this. This is a question I ask everybody that I do interview with, and some of them hate me for it. Hopefully you don't. But okay, try not to hate me. I think you have an idea of what I'm about to ask. But all right, it doesn't have to be about producing, doesn't have to be about performers. It just has to be about what are your what are your what give me top 5 artists, musicians, they could be producers even, that
Mhm.
really inspire you and influence you. And it could be anything from what you're into right now to maybe your mom played certain records when you were a kid. Like,
Mhm.
give me your top 5. I know that's tough, but give me your top 5 all in all.
My
I
goodness.
know.
Well, producing wise, like Max
Yeah.
Martin, of course.
Okay.
He's been really inspirational. I love Lady Gaga. Love
Me
her.
too.
Yeah, she's wonderful. So a lot of my inspiration is from the stuff that she's done before.
Yeah. Okay,
Um,
who else? We got 2 so far.
we got two.
I
Let's
know this
see
is
here.
tough.
Well, okay, I have to throw Britney Spears in there. Like, if you
Okay.
think about music, I think Britney Spears, Celine Dion. I remember
Woo.
like, when I was little, like I love Celine Dion, listened to all her stuff.
Yeah.
So she's really great.
And one more.
Shania Twain,
Oh,
even.
Shania, there you go. So that's
Yeah.
cool. See, you are like really kind of influenced in certain different ways, obviously, by,
Mhm.
you have a good array of kind of a lot of pop, but in different forms, in different ways,
Yeah.
It's like Shania Twain's totally, and Celine Dion. I mean, like that's the kind of stuff. It's like, I like to feed into this because, and part of the reason I asked this is also because, you know, um, when the EP comes out,
Mhm.
when Club Matrix is released, I'm gonna like listen to it and know that those are some of your influences,
Oh,
and
yeah.
see if I, because people like you might, artists like yourself might pop things in there without even really realizing it and be like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, that's kind of like a Lady Gaga section right there that you did,
It would
without
be
even.
cool to hear like your opinion on like certain stuff and what you take from it. Like, oh, I can see you got that from that. Like, it'll be cool to hear your take on it.
Yeah, well, send me the record, man. Send me
I
when it's
will.
done.
I will.
I would love to hear it. So that's coming out. So Club Matrix, we're not sure exactly, but hopefully spring it's coming out. Are you
Definitely.
going to drop anything before, like any like maybe another single before then or anything? Any plans?
Yes. I'm actually in the process now doing a piano version of I Would. So I want to like really strip it back, like have just a bare piano on it and
Cool.
vocal and see how that goes. So I'm in the middle of doing that right now, and I would like to
How's
release
that coming?
it. It's good. I'm trying to since I said Celine Dion, I'm trying to get in my Celine Dion moment. So I can come off like a certain way. It won't be any crazy notes or anything, but just trying to. I like to think like, oh, what artist could sing this song, and I try to get in that headspace to like get
Mhm.
in the zone with it. So, but yeah,
Wow.
I'll
I
be
would have
praying to the
never.
Celine Dion gods.
No, totally no. I mean, I would have never thought that you would, go for something like that. I definitely want to hear that, and that's a cool idea too, because. And if it comes out really good, you should also put that on the EP, in my opinion, because it shows a different side. Yeah, I think so. Just maybe as like a bonus track, you can say
Yeah.
it's a bonus, whatever. But I think that doing something like that is kind of unexpected. Like I didn't even expect you to say that. So not at all. Especially for someone's like, okay, cool. I just started singing on these. Now you're gonna go for a piano version, stripped down piano vocals.
I want to show the different moods that one song could bring. So
Yeah,
I think, or maybe like after I release Club Matrix, maybe I'll do a few more acoustic versions of the Club Matrix songs, because the
cool.
lyrics and everything fit with like the hard synths and beats, and you're like, okay, this makes sense, but would it
Yeah,
make sense like on a guitar or on a piano? Like, how would those lyrics? They might mean something different.
right.
It's sung in a different way, so
Yeah.
I try to play around with that a little bit.
It's gonna bring a different mood. They're gonna have different aesthetics and different moods for sure. It's kind of amazing how like the same lyrics with different, different vibes, different musical backing can come through on such a can come through so differently, I guess, for lack
Yeah.
of a better word. It's something that, do you write the lyrics before usually? Do you write the lyrics before? Like, did you write all the lyrics out for like Club Matrix, for example, like before you even started, you
Oh,
know?
no, no. It usually started off with me making the track, and then the sounds from the track might like inspire some sort of imagery, and I just write off of that imagery.
Right. And do you write stuff? Do you write lyrically now that you're, well, I shouldn't even say now, because even when you had other people singing on your stuff and you collaborated with your friends and singers, you also wrote the lyrics for those, right?
Yes, yes, I
And
did.
you led along the melodies and all that and the approach.
Yes.
So when you write lyrics and stuff, where do you pull that from? Is that pulled from like real life experience, or just like an idea, like a fictional idea? Where's that come from?
It's a little bit of both. I love disguising the truth. I mean, that's what songwriting is all about, you know?
Mhm.
So I love lyrics that if you read them on paper, they can read as like sad, or they could read as like a story, but if sung in a different way, it could give like whole new feeling, you know? So a
Yeah.
lot of the lyrics are like personal experiences, or I might like this is a real experience, and I just might like throw lies on top of it, but it came from an experience. But the lies make it sparkly, you know.
Right, right. Yeah, you kind of embellish.
Yeah. And I love, you know, using metaphors. So
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah. So
Cool.
basically it's
Yeah.
like you're just disguising the truth.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I mean, but the thing is, underneath it all, it's the truth. It's
It came from a real place, you know. It might sound, some songs might sound superficial or whatever, but it did come from something, a real place.
right.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, that's cool. I'm just curious because, sometimes you wonder, like, for where lyrics come from. There's different kinds of artists out there in terms of songwriting, and so sometimes, and you can be an artist that some songs are just coming from completely real places and you're just gutting yourself and putting it on paper, and then other songs could just be completely fictional and or semi-fictional or truthful with layers of other stuff on top.
Yeah.
And but it's always cool to know where lyrics come from, and sometimes where what starts it, you know what I mean? Like if because a lot of people they write lyrics first and then they somehow go, okay, cool, I'm going to write a song to fit these lyrics, and I'm just kind of like, how do you do
Sometimes,
that exactly? you
yeah,
know
like I've sometimes that could be a frustrating process, because when you write a whole song out before you have any music to it, for me, like trying to find that right sound or music to fit what I have written down, you know, it's, to
yeah,
me, it's more of a frustrating process. So I like to kind of have it go hand in hand together, like at the same time, usually.
yeah, lay down the tracks first and then write the lyrics to that track, because I would
Yeah.
imagine if you wrote lyrics first, it's like not only that, but you have to find kind of like the rhythmic pattern
Mhm.
for because writing lyrics before you have music is kind of like writing a poem in a way, and
Yeah.
it's like you have these rhythms to it, and it's like you have to find the right rhythm to fit that. I would imagine that being way harder than trying to put lyrics to a beat that or a whole song that you already created,
Yeah.
because if something doesn't fit, you just go, all right, I'm going to take this word out, and then or if this doesn't fit, I'm going to add this word here at the end. Meanwhile, if it's a beat, it's like, oh shit, I got to go back and
Yeah, and then you can like, because before I started producing, I would write like full ass songs just by themselves,
yeah,
and you notice like I would get really wordy with the songs, like would have really like long drawn out sentences. I'm like, no, I need
yeah,
to make this shorter and have it
yeah, yeah.
fit the beat or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like you write the lyrics out first, and you're kind of like, do I need all of this, in here? And then you
Right.
got to try, it's like you're sitting there trying to squeeze the sentence into the beat. It's like, maybe I need to
Yeah.
rephrase this, and that's, to me, obviously that would be easier to do than to try and change the music of the song, because that's a whole other animal,
Whole other ball game. Yeah.
So,
But
wow.
it's good training. It does train your brain.
Yeah.
So.
Um, So, are you what about like music videos and stuff like that? You're gonna get into diving into the whole music video aspect of things in terms of
I would love to. I don't know how to do that just yet.
uh,
um, but you know, when I make these songs, of course I have like a storyline in my head, or like, oh, that'd
yeah,
be cool in a music video, or that'd be
yeah.
cool. So I obviously think of those things, but I have nothing in the books yet for it.
You should go. I think that for you, that would be a really good kind of logical step to take, is the visual, because I think that you would have a lot of creativity in the visual aspect of what you're doing, because just judging off the, but here's the thing too, and this is important for other artists to know too, is that you came up doing what you're doing, working, like you said, working with your friends and having other people sing on your stuff, basically collaborating. So, in a way, that's kind of like networking, our artists, I think, need to understand more about that aspect of the business, because, the creative side is the creative side, but the business side is different. Being able to network you have to network, because if you don't, and so it seems like you're good at networking, and that aspect of it, and that's how you will be able to pull off, getting a video made. Use that networking skill, I think, to be able to create your video, because I think that, like if you had a video for I Would Part 2, it would be nuts. I didn't even know what it would be, but it would just be crazy and be cool visual.
Thank you.
And yeah, I think you should do that. I mean, it's easy for me to be like, dude, make a video, but
I put a lot of pressure on myself, because I don't want to put something out there that I would like cringe by, or I would feel embarrassed by, So
Yeah.
like the way it's shot, the way the production would have to be on it, I would want it to look really legit.
All right, last question. And this one is kind of a newer one because of what's going on right now, but I came across an artist not too long ago, a few months back, and I thought that it was a really cool song. It was like EDM type of, kind of like an EDM type of track, but with it had really good vocals, and the way it was put together was really well done. And it was completely fake. It was all AI. The whole thing from top to bottom was fucking AI.
No.
And I couldn't believe it. And I was like, whoa, I mean, it was a pop song, it was just a straight up pop song, EDM pop song. And so I started, doing a little bit more research and stuff. And, there's places that you can go and type some shit in, you're a bit younger than me, so you probably know a lot more about it, but it's like, you can just go, I want a song that sounds like, fucking Blink 182. That's about, whatever. And it'll pump out a track that sounds complete. So what are your thoughts on the whole AI music thing? Do you think it's like an actual threat, or people realize it's completely fucking soulless?
It could be a threat, but I mean, it kind of takes away. I mean, I think why songwriters and artists do what they do is because it fuels them. It fuels their soul. I feel like AI could be really helpful in some situations, but yeah, it's like artists do it because they need to,
right?
Like the AI isn't. I mean, it's
like what are you doing this for? Yeah, why are you?
Yeah, what's the reason? Like, people love intention, and I think AI could spit out a great pop song, but I mean,
who cares?
We'll connect with the intention and the reason why you're doing what you're doing, and so AI doesn't have that. AI doesn't have intention; it just pops out whatever.
Right? Yeah.
I have heard songs. I think AI is cool in this way. There's Celine Dion's song "My Heart Will Go On." AI did a Freddie Mercury version of what he would sound like on it, and it is insane. And it's really cool to hear that.
Does it sound real?
I think so.
Does it sound like
there's some glitches you can hear that you're like, okay, that's like whatever, a computer. But for the most part, like it sounds like Freddie singing.
I'm good. Literally, as soon as we're done, I have to go.
I'll try to find a link and send it to you.
Dude,
blown away.
Please do that. Please do that. That's cool. I mean, I dig that because it's for fun. It's someone. It's not a release of anything. It's just someone going, okay, well, wouldn't it be cool if Freddie Mercury sang the song? I wonder what that would sound like, and then you can actually do it, and your weird imaginative, fleeting thought just came to life. That's cool. But there's also other aspects to it. As I start talking about this with more artists like yourself who produce stuff too. I feel like a lot of people are coming to this final thought where it is slightly I guess maybe threat's a heavy word, but in terms of the film industry, be having to pay people to write songs for films or pay someone to, because that's something for you as a producer, that's something for you to obviously look into as well, and for you, yeah,
Well,
go ahead.
oh no, well, to piggyback off of that, I was gonna say, like, that's my whole goal, like, for a career in music, is to just write for other people and to, like, hopefully be involved with the music for film or for commercials. I'm kind of like disguising myself as like the artist right now, but like
Mhm.
the whole intention is to be like, hey, this is what I can do. And then I'd
Right.
love to like collaborate with like other up and coming artists and help them write songs. So that's like my main focus and intention.
So yeah, okay. So far we have I Would and I Would Part 2. You're working on a piano version of I Would,
Yes.
which is very interesting, and I definitely want to hear that. And Club Matrix, the full EP and slash or album, is going to be hopefully released this spring. And thank you very much, LAKLAN, for taking the time
Of course.
to do this with me. Oh, dude, I really appreciate it. It's been awesome.